With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a curious guy, just like Einstein, energetic WordPress educator, and content creator who blends technical depth with storytelling and always experimenting, always learning, and always bringing others along for the ride. No other than Mr. Bud Kraus.
Hello, Daniel. Hello, everybody.
Yes, welcome on Book 101
Thank
Review,
you.
Mr. Bud. And can you please introduce more about yourself that
Sure.
I miss?
Well, that's pretty good, actually. I do have a podcast, too, called Seriously, Bud, where I have an unexpected conversation every week with somebody in the WordPress community. If you're not familiar with WordPress, it's the most common way in which websites are made. It's very popular. About 43% of all websites use it. And I'm very much a part of the WordPress, the worldwide WordPress community.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Bud. Thank you. So today, let's talk about how to thrive as a visually impaired person in a visual world. So tell us, the word thriving implies going beyond mere coping. What was a pivotal moment or shift mindset where you move from adapting your environment to a creativity or actively designing a life where you could thrive?
You know, that is such a good question. And it's really been like the essence of my life over the last couple of years, because a lot of people who have vision impairments, and I've been visually impaired for a long time now, like 35, 40 years. You know, when you start out, you don't think of vision impairment as a blessing. It's really a curse. But over the long haul, you see some of the benefits of being visually impaired. I mean, there's a lot of them. Like, for example, I get to speak at a lot of different conferences because of my vision impairment and my work in technology and all that. And I would have not had those experiences without being visually impaired. So it's really interesting that I've come along this journey to the point where I realize this is really a blessing, not a curse. And like I said, it's only in the last couple of years that I started realizing, no, this isn't really bad at all. And in fact, you know, the funny thing is, if somebody were to say, well, we're going to restore your vision tomorrow, would that be okay with you? I'd have to think about that. It would not be an automatic okay. You know, now there are things I can't do. You know, I can't drive, I can't read very well, but I don't focus on the I can'ts, because I can do things that sighted people can't do. So what's
Yes.
the difference? You know, we all can do things that other people can't do. That's nothing
Yes,
new, you know.
definitely, yes. Focus on the good ones, not the bad ones.
Absolutely.
Always positive. And Mr. Bud, in a world that often equates sight with experience, how have you cultivated a rich, detailed, and fulfilling inner world that is not dependent on visual input?
Well, I think part of it is my use of technology. I'm pretty good at it, and technology has also improved drastically over, let's say, the last 25 years, because like 25 years ago, technology made me feel more disadvantaged, but it got better over time so that people like me could be more useful. And like I always say too, it's kind of interesting that when it comes to accessibility, things like that, which I'm not an expert at other than being a user, um, accessibility makes things possible for people like me and better for everybody else. So, it's just, I think of accessibility as something, as a design construct that everybody should be designing with accessibility, not added on, but integral to whatever is made. I don't know. Did I
Integral.
answer your question? I don't think I answered your question.
Yes, you
Sorry.
did.
Okay.
Yes, you did,
Well,
Mr.
I tend to ramble. So, keep me on the, focused
You,
here.
You're
Pun
doing a
intended.
great job. You're doing a
Okay.
great job, Mr.
All
Bad.
right.
So many people operate on a fear of missing out, or called FOMO. How have
Yeah.
you redefined what it means to truly
Oh, that's
experience?
such a good boy. That is such a good. You either did your homework or you did some good questions or you used AI or whatever it is. But it is
I
whatever it is you're doing. This is
uh
fantastic. So it is just boy. That is really it's something I don't think about, but it really is true that I
hmm
do miss out. I'll give you like a
Really?
case in point. Like I'll go to a conference. And because I
Okay.
don't see people very well, it's sort of like having face blindness in a way where you don't
hmm
recognize people's faces. And you do sort of like feel, God, I wish I could see them a little better. Or, or let's say people are doing something that's very visual that I just can't, I don't feel like I could, I want to partake in. So like, for example, my family, they all like to play games, board games and card games. And I'm not so much into that. So I do like miss out, but I just get, I do lots of things like play music and I do all kinds of things that are not real sight related. So, it's just the way, and I don't, I've been playing music before I, you know, had a vision problem. So it's nothing really new. So
hmm
I, again, it's one of those, it's a great question because you absolutely can feel left out because of an impairment. You absolutely can. But you also then have to look at, well, what can I do that maybe will substitute or satisfy whatever it is that I'm missing? So,
Yes. What
yeah.
is missing right now? So, Mr. Bad, imposter syndrome can affect anyone in a professional or social setting. How have you navigated moments of self doubt and fortified the belief that you not only belong but excel?
Well, for one thing, it's not that, like, if you met me, you wouldn't really know that I'm visually impaired, but it wouldn't take too long to figure out, like, I don't read menus so say that a question again. I've lost my train of thought. What was that? It's old
So,
age. Yeah, go
mhm,
ahead.
yes. So, Mr. Bad.
Mhm.
Let's go to the other question that I want
Mhm.
you to deal with. What
Okay,
is
and this
the
time I will
most
focus.
yes?
Okay.
So what is the most unhelpful, well-intentioned piece of advice sighted people often give? And what is the more empowering truth you wish they understood?
Well, I think sighted people, it's so interesting because if I say that I'm legally blind and I am, I get one reaction. And
Mm,
if I say I'm visually impaired, I get another reaction. Visually impaired is okay. Legally blind is not okay because people are afraid of blindness. They really are. And they sort of give you this, like, or a lot of times it's like, are you kidding? Or, a lot of it is like, I had no idea. Like I have to
yeah.
convince people sometimes that I am, but it's, it's so interesting because to me, of course, it's the same thing. So I've learned when to use which term and I'm getting away. I don't say legally blind too much anymore unless I want to shock you. Unless I want to throw something at you that's like really shocking, I'll say, hey, guess what? I'm legally blind. But, that is a bit shocking, even though, like, to me, it's not, it's like saying I'm right handed. It's not real shocking. But it's so interesting how people, and then of course people get a little timid, like they're afraid to ask you something, like, and I'll say, it's okay to ask me questions. I'm not going to break, you know, you sometimes sense that they don't want to ask you, like, well, what can you see? That's something that you do every once in a while, a friend maybe who I haven't seen in a long time, or somebody that just is curious. Well, what do you see? And then you have to explain what and it's very complicated, but, yeah, it's
So,
interesting.
yes, definitely interesting, Mr. Brad. And on practical navigation and technology, what are your top three tools on your toolkit, which could be apps, devices, or simple techniques that you
Yeah.
rely on daily to navigate a physical world independently and
Another great question.
confidently?
Yeah. You
Yes.
are filled with great questions. And I have to say that
Mm-hmm.
I give a talk on this. I'm giving a talk in 2 days in New York City on this kind of a topic. And everybody is different in terms of their technology needs. This is whether you're sighted, not sighted, we're all different. In my
Yes.
case, I don't use a lot of heavy duty assistive technology. I use a Mac computer, and the Mac has got a lot of built in accessibility goodies. And then a lot of people, when they see that, they say, oh, I'm going to use that for my computer too. Because they didn't know, like, maybe it's a tool that's hidden in the accessibility area of the computer. And then when people see this, they go, I want to use this too, whether it's zooming in and out of the screen with your keyboard or using text to speech. So you highlight some content and you have the computer read it to you. Or, it's funny too, like, let's say cell phone, right?
Mm.
Well, in the
Yes.
beginning, I couldn't send a text to anybody because there was no ability to do like voice narration. There was no way to hear the text. There was no way to talk and now you can do all those things. And I remember the very first time, this was years ago now, that I was able to send somebody and read, have audio read to me the text on the screen. I was like almost crying because it was like, now I can be part of the rest of the world. How empowering that is. We have to be, boy, just something like that was just tremendous. I'll never forget that. And so how important that is. And of course, here's the cool thing. Of course, what happens is when the broader population sees that people with disabilities are using something, they go, oh, I'm going to do that too. So now you see everybody talking into their cell phones, dictating, right? Or listening to something like an audible book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just funny. And it is really true. A lot of assistive technology first made for people with disabilities eventually gets accepted into the broader community, the broader world. I always get a kick out of that because I always say, we got to use it first.
Fantastic, for
Yeah.
sure. And Mr. Brad, the digital
Right.
world is intensely visual. How do you tackle inaccessible websites or apps? And what is your advice for developers on
Yeah.
the one change they could make that would have the biggest impact?
So if you knew nothing about any of this, accessibility, usability, which are not the same things, but there's an overlap. The best advice I would give you is just to, and a lot of people do this already, and this has been the trend now for years, is to simplify things. If you remember what the web was like 20, 25 years ago, you'd go to a homepage and there'd be 400 links on it. Well, people realized shortly that, hey, that doesn't make any sense. So the fewer links, the better, because people aren't going to click on a million links. So simplify, 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 and think about how others are going to react and use your site. Now, of course, that sometimes does mean user testing and things like that. But, if I had to do just one thing, now there's lots of things to do. But, you come to these websites, has too much information, too much going on, too many links in the navigation. And like I said, fortunately, a lot of designers and developers over the years understand now that simplicity is a much better approach. Yeah. So now, I used to make websites. I don't make them anymore, but because I would, it's not that I would fight with clients, but they would hire me and they'd say, we hired you because we like your approach and we like the way you think. And then when you get into a project and they would say, well, I want to have something on their website, and I'd say, like, that's not really, let's don't do that. And then they just want to do it anyway because their competitors are like a mega menu or flying monkeys or whatever. I don't know. And I would try to urge them not to go that direction. And after a lot of discussion, they would still want to go in that direction. So I got kind of frustrated. If no one's going to listen to me, then I shouldn't be making websites. So, and I'm not, there's all kinds of people that make websites. It isn't just your traditional graphic designers. That's one of the things I love about it, because web development, because it pulls in so many different disciplines. That I definitely had a place in that world, but over time I got very just fed up with the whole thing. So what I do now is I'm a content creator. I write a lot of articles about WordPress, and I get hired by web hosting companies to write these articles. And I have my podcast too. So I'm pretty busy. Busy
Indeed, Mr.
Yep.
Bud. So as a fellow podcaster, educator, and content creator, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Well, I'm not a kid. So I don't have long horizon goals here, but I feel like I am very fortunate because I'm in my early 70s and I work in a world with 35-year-olds and 40-year-olds who are so damn smart and so much fun to work with and talk to, who are the leading edge of AI and all kinds of technologies, and that they teach me, and hopefully I teach them some things. But most people my age are retired. Their world of influence and their groups, it gets smaller and smaller, whereas mine keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I want that to continue. So if you ask me, like, what's the long range goal, is that I continue to do the work that I'm doing because I love the work that I'm doing. It's almost like, God, I get paid to do this. It's amazing. I actually get paid to learn. In essence, that's my job, is to learn, to get paid, and then to write about what I'm learning. Well, that's a pretty good job. So, and also to go to conferences, socialize, network with, people that I have come to love around the world. And man, that is just like, it doesn't get much better than that, really. I mean, I don't have stress like people, have in their jobs. I don't have stress. I give the stress. Because I tell people what I'm going to do. They'll say we want you to write an article or what. I'm very much control of my schedule is what I'm saying. So I don't have that kind of a stress. And I'm very, very fortunate to be in the tech world that I'm in and do the things that I do. Wow. It's just crazy. And to know people from all over the world and call them my friends. So,
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Bud, and
Thank
looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Well, don't retire. That's my piece of advice. Okay, if I don't know what you
retire. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, don't stop doing anything that you love to do. Let's just say that.
Yes.
I mean, if you hate what you're doing, fine. Stop doing that and do something that you really love, because you are only here once. And I've had some good advice from some good friends that say, if you're doing something, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're doing something that's not working out, quit doing it. Find something else, a spin-off of what you're doing, whatever. And also build your network. The more people you know that are in your world, the more resources, people, whatever you can rely on. And yes, I use AI all the time, but there's also people that I reach out to too and ask well, how does this work? Or why does this work? Or, help me out here. Or do you know so-and-so? I need to get a hold of so-and-so. Well, you can't know enough people. That's my dad always said, you can't have enough money. I say you can't know enough people. You can't have enough money either. I get it. Okay. You really can't know enough. You can't have enough. And nurture your friends, nurture your friendships. Don't stand on ceremony. Oh, they never reach out to me. They never text me. They never call me. They never email me. Don't do that. I used to do that. And you're going to end up with no friends. You will end up with nobody talking to you. You've got to nurture your friends and your friendships and your contacts and your network. You've got to stay in touch with whatever it is. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. It doesn't take a whole lot. We have all this phenomenal technology to stay in touch. And because I mean, I work out of my own office, but I never am alone. I am just bombarded every day with texts, emails, messages, blah, blah, blah. You know, sometimes I think it's like too much. It's okay. You know what? I wouldn't want it any other way. So I'm lucky. What can I tell you? Yeah.
Yeah, so Mr. Bad, thank you for that advice. And to wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fourth season, and my abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, food 101 on fifth season, and geography 101, love letters, movie 101, and music 101 are in fourth season, Science 101 and Sex 101 second season, my May Baby Podcast Law 101, Mental Health 101, as well as my Verses 101, or Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen
You
to
are
your
a monster.
podcast.
You're a podcast monster. Can I say one thing real quick? I am going to listen to
Yes.
your Comedy 101
Yes, God.
because I
Please.
need to take lessons.
Yes, my co-host teaching me how to be a comedian. It's hard to be a
Okay.
comedian, Mr. Bad. I'm struggling to be a comedian.
Oh,
But
it's not that hard.
But my co-host said, "No, you'll be okay."
Well, you know,
Go for it.
if I have one last second, do we have one more second?
Yes, go ahead.
Always, whoever I'm, listening, the way I've learned things too is play to your strength. If you're funny, be funny. If you're
Yes.
serious, be
Be
serious.
serious.
If you're good in sports, be good in sports. Know your strengths and don't be afraid to play your hand. I've learned that. You know, it takes a lot of learning about yourself in order to do that. And that will make you much more that will make you a person that everybody wants to sort of like play with or gravitate or whatever it is. I've watched people that way, and I say like, wow, that's the way to do it. Be yourself, and don't be afraid to be yourself, because that's all you can be really at the end, right? You can't be anybody else.
Yes.
I don't think.
Be yourself.
Yeah. But you have
Be
to know
yourself.
yourself too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, last question, Mr. Bad. Can you please recommend a book of books that influence your journey?
Oof, boy. Now that is, wow. Before we started, I talked about this book. It's out. I'm a nonfiction reader, so I'm reading. I like to read biographies, but I'll tell you a book that kind of influenced me quite a bit that I didn't mention before. But Elie Wiesel wrote a book called. He's a Holocaust survivor. He's no longer with us, but Holocaust survivor, well known. And he wrote a book called Winter. And it's a gripping story written as an 8-year-old as he was taken to Auschwitz. And you get a first-hand account of what that was like. And it did have an impact on my life. So there's so many like books like that are just Anne Frank. But it's not, of course, now I'm talking about World War II, but there's so many. I get inspiration from biographies because I learn how other people lived some of the most remarkable lives. And it's just always inspiring that the human mind and the human spirit can go to places that are unimaginable. And that's the reason why I like to read those kind of books or listen to them on Audible.
Yes.
How's that?
Thank you for that recommended book,
Okay.
Mr. Bad. And can you
Okay.
please introduce and invite our listeners to support your podcast, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Can I just say it's seriouslybud.com, and you can subscribe to the newsletter and the podcast and all that. Thank you for having me on.
You are most welcome. Yes, people, let's support Mr. Bud Kraus, because if you support him for sure, more and more empowering advocacy will rise. So, Mr. Bud, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.